And welcome to Off the Couch with Dr. Greg, where psychology meets everyday life. I'm Dr. Greg Cason. I'm here with producer Brian Gomez.
Happy
hey, Brian.
Monday, guys.
And today we have something extremely special on board. We have Gary and Larry Lane. They were born in Goldsboro, North Carolina. They're identical twin actors, models, film producers, and screenwriters. Oh my God, you guys. The twins have appeared in feature films and national TV ads and are three-time grand prize champions of reality show competitions. I don't even know how that happens. Fear Factor, Wipeout, and Set for Life. You won all three competitions.
We won all three.
Yes.
You have to pay rent out here, so you learn to win the shows that you get on.
Oh, my God. They're best known for a film they co-produced and appeared in called Hollywood to Dollywood, which is so wonderful. It's a feature-length documentary released in 2012. It's a 2011 movie, right?
Yes.
On the circuit. The film about their quest to personally deliver a screenplay they've written to singer-actress Dolly Parton. Played at 60 film festivals.
Yes.
25 Best Documentary
Awards.
I
yes.
mean, and I think it was deserving of that.
It was well received, and Dolly, bless Dolly, we used 15 of her songs for the film, and it just touched a lot of hearts and inspired a lot of people. So.
Well, it touched my heart. I can't wait to talk about it. And I love that you used an RV and you named it Jolene.
Yes, we did. She became a character along the way. She did.
She did. And today we're going to dive into their latest extraordinary accomplishment. It's a film that we need at this moment. It's Still Working 9 to 5. That's what it's called. Still Working, 9 to 5, which is a documentary exploring the impact of the 1980 film 9 to 5 and its enduring relevance in the fight for workplace equality. But it's so much more, and it really meets the moment. So I'm excited to talk about that. But before we dive in, guys, oh my God, 3 reality shows. So I want to talk about Fear Factor. So I want to know, because could we put up the image of them in Fear Factor with Joe Rogan?
This was hell. We're over a cliff in Palos Verdes right there.
Yes. You're on a giant. It's called surfing. What was it called? Sky surfing.
It was a platform, and we had to start in the middle, perfectly balanced with each other, step by step. And if you didn't, it slid, and you just went right off over the cliff side.
Yikes! But you had to retrieve flags.
We had to retrieve flags on the back, and we were really good. We found out later that Joe Rogan told us that, because the crew, they test all the stuff before the contestants
come in and try it,
and nobody could do it. And me and him, we went back to back, got every flag. We did it perfectly balanced, and so then we had to sign a release that said the Army used our video for teamwork,
communication.
They showed it for communication and teamwork for years.
Because once we figured out when he was high, I was grabbing flags, and we offset it and kept going further and further back and got all the flags.
And a couple of times I was like, get your ass back. And our mom's like, you said ass on national TV. I heard you. TV. So our mom's Southern Baptist, so she's in North Carolina. So we love our parents, but she did hear us say ass because I said, Mom, it was a very stressful situation.
Oh my God. You were more than 100 feet above the crashing ocean.
Yep.
I mean, it really actually scared me just to watch the clip of that.
Well, we stood on the thing and had no idea. We thought they might just lift us up, but then when it hoisted, we went way, and we were just out over nothing but water. Joe Rogan looked like a little ant on the little cliffside, and I was like, gosh.
But then when you saw the girls do it, you saw one of them took a step too far, and they automatically tipped.
Right,
it shows you how perfectly balanced you had to be.
So we did a good job, and we really wanted that money. We had just moved to L.A. We had spent all the money we saved up on first and last month's rent and the deposit.
So we were sitting in a studio on Sunset Boulevard with a futon, and it was Christmas 23rd of December, and we got the check, and it was Christmas Eve. We couldn't even cash the check.
We were eating top ramen, and we had a $50,000
with a futon
check.
with no furniture. We had a $50,000 Fear Factor check.
So we really needed the money, so it helped us.
Well, I mean, how incredible! But it really strikes me too. I mean, neither of you are afraid of heights, or
no? We've never been afraid of heights.
I'm more afraid of being in
small spaces,
claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Both
for sure.
of you?
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure. Yeah. Him more than me, because even on an airplane, he always has to sit on the aisle, so he feels like he can get up. He can't sit on the inside. I'm talking about
Xanax,
cold sweats, and he has a really panic attack. He's always in the front seat of the car, which I think that might be a little fake.
I get car sick.
He just says he can't sit in the back.
Well, what's interesting about that, I mean, is that, being afraid, fear of heights is what we consider a more inborn fear. Mm-hmm. So, neither of you have that. But I don't know about small spaces. I don't know that that's an inborn fear, but a lot of people have that. It's pretty common.
Yeah.
Yeah. So also, you bought your mother a car with the money, or you used some of it for rent?
We used some of it, and we went with our older brother, and we went because it was
2002.
That was April. So Mother's Day was that May. So that May we all got her a car together.
Oh,
yeah, I got her a new car. So.
That's really sweet. I mean,
Yeah.
my mother probably would be, she'll be envious when she hears this. Then you were on a show called Wipeout.
Oh God.
Which looks like a lot of fun, but
you watch it on your couch, and so when you see like they hit the padding things, that is a little like less than an inch thick of plastic, and it's hard underneath there. It's not a cushy thing. It's nothing's cushy about any of it.
Can we put up the image of them in
Yeah.
Wipeout? Yeah. No, I think that's
okay. In that shot, I'm showing her. I hit something and rubbed all the skin off my arm. I got a big burn. So I'm showing Jill Wagner like right there where I got like a big burn.
and
that's me.
Yeah, that was going, and that's mud that you're about to fall into. So you come up and you look like Shawshank Redemption, like you're climbing out of the sewer.
They fool you on that show because they play like little slapstick sounds, they're like, it sounds very funny. They play like
no. And they tell you right at the beginning, you're not going to get across it without wiping out. It's designed. They control every little lever.
So
every
when you
little
jump,
thing. They're like, you're not going to get across it without falling. So just go at it or whatever.
But ours was the winter edition. So what you didn't see was they had like literally mounds of snowballs. So while we were jumping through the air, and even if we cleared the jump, you get hit in the head with a snowball. The crew, everybody's just throwing snowballs at you because we were winter.
So Jill Wagner, she's from North Carolina, so she really liked us because it was the North Carolina Twins. So we're going through this one, and this snowball hits me in the eye, and it hits me so hard like I see stars. I
see when they hit him, so I kind of get over him, and they're just hitting me in the back with snowballs.
So I have to wait for my eye to come back into focus, and then when I get over to Jill, they stop throwing them, and I was like, "Oh, you're gonna stop throwing them now!" I was so mad. I was like seeing the fire. So thank God we won that, but that was a hell show to do. It was tough.
I mean, it looked incredibly exciting. And then then you did a show called Set for Life, which I didn't know about, but you won a lot of money.
Yeah, that was it was. ABC had, or NBC had Deal or No Deal, so this was ABC's kind of takeoff on that with Jimmy Kimmel, and it was called Set for Life. But they actually put me and him. He was like in the back, so he was kind of like the guardian angel, so he could either stop the game or let me keep playing, and whatever he stopped at, that's what we got. If we went on to get $1 million, or if we went on to get nothing, and he stopped, so he could help or hurt us. But anyway, it was Jimmy Kimmel on this giant board, and it was just numbers, and there was a cylinder at every number that I had to pull out, and when there was a light on the bottom, if it was white, the money went up, and if it was a red light, the money
doubled if it was white.
Yeah, so he just had me randomly pulling numbers, but they would backstage ask Larry, what number is he going to pick next?
Wait, set it up. There's like 30 random numbers, so I'd say 63.
And I would pull 63, and then they'd say, what number is he going to do next? And he'd say 13, and I'd pull 13. So after the 5th time we did it, they came in.
They were looking for they thought we were wired.
And I was like, it's a random board,
numbers.
And I don't know what any of this is. I didn't even know what white and red lights. How can you say we're cheating? It's just that we were honed in on each other, and they couldn't believe that. But we won $125,000 on that. And our mom had never been on a plane, and they flew our parents from North Carolina to L.A. to be part of that show. So he would make our mom pick a number, tell what number should Gary pick, and she was doing like this, so she was so nervous. I'm so glad they came to see, and we won $125,000. So, and the way they did that is you got like $2,000 a month every month. It would just float into our bank. Right. So after the 5 years was up and it didn't come that next month, we were like, we were almost
$2,000.
But the end of that, I had 4 numbers left, and he goes, okay, pick a number. You're either going to go to 250 or you're going to cut down to 75, and that'll be the end of it. And so I was like, I'm going to stop at 125. And then he said, well, you know how they go, we'll just pick one just to see, and it was red, so we would have cut in half and only got 75. So I stopped at the right time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting, I mean, like on Wipeout, they called you guys womb mates, which I thought was a little kitschy. But how interesting, because you guys really were simpatico. I mean, you are simpatico as you interact, you finish each other's sentences, etc. But I mean, maybe there is kind of a mind meld thing.
We've done a couple of things where always me.
This is going to blow your mind. Hang on.
Like, he got hurt at work. We were like 16 years old. We had just started at McDonald's, but he got hurt at work.
My finger,
he sliced his finger, and they told my mom it was his hand. I was like, it's not. It's his hand. It's his finger, and it's this finger. And I knew.
And then when they went to the hospital and they walked in, like our mom, they had stitched it and it was all bandaged up. And our mom saw that it was that finger. He told her it was, and our mom thought we were like the Twilight Zone. So she was like really freaked out by it. So then the second time we did it, we were getting gas. We were like 19, and came out, and I twisted my ankle on the curb stepping
Yeah.
out. When I got to the car, he had the shoe and the sock off and was massaging his ankle because his ankle was hurting so bad in the car.
We were on Unsolved Mysteries. They
Second
featured us
time.
on
No, wait.
segments.
So this is the third time.
Wow.
Unsolved Mysteries reached out because we were in New York and I had an abscess tooth that's not there. I had to pull it because it was so bad. They were like, we're pulling his tooth. I went to the hospital. We're just in the middle of the city. So they had to pull my tooth. When they went and he was in the lobby
And
and,
passed
he was in
out.
so much pain, he was about to pass out
And they had to give me a
in his
shot.
mouth and they gave him a shot. So on the bill, they wanted to show 2 Novocaine shots because they had to give my brother one and he wasn't even getting
But
anything
we know
done.
twins where one sister felt her sister going into labor. She knew her sister was having a baby like 6 states over. She's like, she just went into labor.
So there's
she told her
something
mom.
there for sure. We haven't done it since then. That was Unsolved Mysteries. I think we were.
But it only works
27.
this way. I could be in a ditch, like he would never know. He's all
It's always my pain, and then he senses.
I'm sorry for that, Larry.
Sorry, Larry. It's okay. Thanks, Larry.
No, I mean, it's really quite amazing. But you also, I mean, it seems like you've done everything. You did a Super Bowl commercial.
We did a Super Bowl. We wrote and produced them. Leslie Jordan was a really good friend of ours, so we came up with this really funny idea, and we pitched it to Leslie, and he goes, "I think it'll be funny." And so we did the whole thing, and it was a great commercial. Like we got a lot of votes. We got in the top 25, but then Leslie's like, "Middle America ain't ready for me," or something like that. But we did really good,
Yeah,
and
it was great.
it was still a great commercial.
It was a great commercial.
Yeah.
And Paul Vogt is in it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Who I love.
We wrote and directed the whole thing with that. That
And
was a
you
lot
were
of
in
fun.
it.
Yeah, we were in it.
Had
Yeah.
a cameo in it. I
He
thought
goes,
it
"Oh,
was,
twins, maybe I will stay." Because he was going to Leslie.
which I think is what he said when he first saw you, didn't he? He was like,
Oh God! This is so crazy. Okay, so there was a place called Bossa Nova. It's near the Abbey. So it was Bossa
absolutely
Nova.
no Bossa
So we went into Bossa Nova, and Leslie was in there, and he was with a group of friends. You know how small it is. in
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So I was like, okay. So we sat down. We got our.
We had just
food.
seen the-
Yeah, we had just seen Sordid Lives. We had seen Will and Grace, and he was the first like famous person we saw after moving here. It was like 2 weeks after we moved here, and so we let him finish eating, and we came up and we said, Leslie, we just wanted to tell you we're big fans, and we just wanted to meet you. And he goes, now
grabbed our hands.
He grabbed our hands, like both our hands, and he went, and everybody was real quiet. And he goes, now wait a minute. He goes, you're twins and you're both gay? And we said yes. He said, oh, God is good.
God
Yes,
is
he
good.
And he
Yes,
was
he
shaking our heads.
is.
So the whole restaurant was like laughing. So that was our initial meeting, Leslie, and then we were friends for 20 years after that.
well, it's incredible. And he, of course, plays a pivotal role in From Hollywood to Dollywood.
Oh gosh, yeah, he saw us off on.
He
the
was
journey.
supposed
He
to
was-
go with us. He was going to go on the road trip with us, and then Lily Tomlin took his pink carpet to Broadway, so he had to cancel. He's like, "But y'all come up here, and I'll see y'all
He's
off
like,
and
I'll
do
be
an
Glinda
open."
the Good Witch, and I'll send you. He was like Glinda sending us off on the journey.
So he was going to go on the trip with us. to
Yeah,
begin
so
with.
yeah, that was a
would've been
good.
fun. But I want to come back to that. But let's talk about still working 9 to 5. 9 to 5. I made Brian watch this movie. I'm like, you're gay and you haven't seen this movie. You have to watch this movie. It's required. It's required viewing. So he actually watched the movie. But it's about.
It was amazing.
This was
So good.
before.
Amazing.
So
before
good,
he-
so good.
Yeah.
So good. And I love this movie. When it came out, I was a senior in high school. I'm old. But it was 1980, December of 1980. Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, Dolly Parton, and Dabney Coleman. By the way, Lily Tomlin is one of my all-time favorite people, period, end of sentence.
We
I
love
can't
Lily.
even tell you how much I love her. And I memorized one of her albums, and I used to perform it when I was in Jungle Cruise, Captain. Once you left the dock and, no one heard what you were saying.
She's so talented. It was so hard to interview her because you're just laughing the whole time.
Yeah, we laughed the whole
She's
time.
constantly making you laugh. So we had such an interview with her.
She's brilliant. But that is an amazing cast, absolutely amazing. Also, a TV show had Rita Moreno, Academy Award winner, Allison Janney,
Was in the
also,
musical.
and she's in the musical. I mean, it was an amazing achievement. But the movie was $100 million box office. It was the second highest grossing film at the time behind Empire Strikes Back. Produced by Bruce Gilbert, which I did not know. Also did China Syndrome and Coming Home, two amazing.
Yeah, him and Jane had a partnership where he would produce and she would star in the projects. They did eight films together, I believe.
I mean, amazing films. Writer-director Colin Higgins of Harold and Maude, one of the greatest comedies ever written. So it really made me go, oh, of course this was the movie it was. It wasn't just some trashy, luck. It was an amazing accomplishment. But it was inspired by an organization called 9 to 5, which was an association of working women, which I thought was pretty amazing. So what caused you to want to look into this movie?
Well, first of all, we remember the movie just in general because anything with Dolly, because our mom and dad, they loved Kenny and Dolly. We were from the South. They just loved everything about Dolly. Yeah. So she was always around us growing up. So the thing that got us on the initial idea of wanting to make it in 2017, Dolly, Lily, and Jane got together for like a little Emmy reunion. They went out on stage together. They hadn't been together in all those years.
Wow.
So that was when I kind of said, okay, and they were talking about the sequel at that time. So I was like, okay, it's been a movie, a song, a musical, a TV show. Now it's going to be a sequel. So I wanted to kind of document everything 9 to 5 had been, and I told him, and that was the initial idea. But then I reached out to a really good friend, Camille Hardman, and I was like, I got to talk to Camille about this because I knew there was a lot going on with women's rights, and I knew the movie was made because of women's rights. So we kind of say, Camille really deep dive, and she found the organization, Karen Nussbaum, the Women at 9 to 5 organization. Yeah. So we kind of say when the fandom of 9 to 5 met the feminism with Camille, that turned into the film that we did initially make.
Can we put up the visual of the 9 to 5 pictures? Well, that's the visual of the movie.
So kids, when you use a silhouette, everyone knows that's Dolly, Lily, and Jane, but when you do a silhouette, you do not have to pay for it. So that's what we learned.
Smart. Yeah. Smart. Yeah, and of course you also had the two of the original people in the photos there as well. So if you could put up all the photos from 9 to 5. But But yeah, no, it was pretty amazing. I was kind of blown away because I thought I started the movie thinking it was one thing. Mm-hmm. It was about this, this movie.
The making of,
which I thought interesting. And then all of a sudden, it's really about this working women's issue, which was personally touched me because my mother was a minimum wage secretary my whole life, single mother. So, I mean, I felt like, I'm watching a documentary and these are the people behind, people like my mother. And so it really kind of impressed me. But then the movie became so much more because it kind of blossoms, the movie, and it becomes more and more powerful about the women's accomplishments. And then it ends with Kamala Harris's acceptance speech for vice president. And it's so inspirational and so powerful. And then we had the election we just did. So it's like, oh, wow, like 3 steps forward.
Yeah, it's a line like Zoe Nicholson in the film. She's an advocate that's in the film. She says we advance and then we go back, and then we advance and then we go back. So that's kind of where we are. The film is still relevant. Someone said, "What are you going to do if Kamala gets in, and then are you going to re-edit?" And I was like, "No, we're not going to re-edit because that's the point we were." But as you see, America's still not ready for a female president. There's still so many glass ceilings that need to be broken. So the film is still relevant. And Dolly, Lily, and Jane, they're very proud of the film. They've shared the trailer. So we're just trying to get it out there and get the message. But it's really about, when we just lost Lily Ledbetter, and she's a fair pay advocate that went against Goodyear. She found out after 20 years she was making less than half of what the men were making doing the same job. So it's really about those women that have fought 50 and 60 years for their rights and for equal pay and for equal justice, and they still haven't got it in their lifetime.
In fact, we have a photo of her. Jamie, can you put up there's a photo with the two, with the twins, with Lily and Zoe, but they're older women, white hair. Anyway, yeah, it's right under the 9 to 5.
Yeah, that's Zoe on the left, and then Lily is between me and Larry right there, Lily Ledbetter.
Yeah, in fact, her case went to the Supreme Court.
And they shot her down and lost.
She's got a new movie coming out where Patricia Clarkson plays, called Lily. She plays her story of her life, Lily Ledbetter.
And unfortunately, they're still trying to get distribution for it because we've kind of found out if you have issues with women's rights and women's, it's harder to get them out there in Hollywood. So we've kind of been dealing with that.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
Because, Patricia Clarkson is another amazing actress. So, wow. So what was it like? You guys worked with all 3 women, Jane, Lily, and Dolly.
We had to do interviews. Dolly was the first one because what we did is we knew we were going to do it. Steve Summers is Dolly's creative manager, so we took him to lunch and we were like, we want to pitch this idea to you and see what you think. And he's like, I really think it's a good idea. He goes, I'll talk to her about it. And so he did talk to her about it and told her what we were trying to do. And she really wanted him to be attached to it. So he came on as executive producer. She was the second interview. We interviewed Karen Nussbaum from the organization first, and then Dolly was second.
But she was so cool. Like, she got a list of the questions. She wanted to see the questions beforehand. So Camille wrote them all up, and she got them. She goes, there's a lot of questions here. Let's go over early. So she actually came over 30 minutes early just to make sure she could answer all the questions. She was so
And thank
cool.
God we were ready when she walked in.
She goes, hello. She opened the
Dolly
front door. We're like, come on
25
in.
minutes early. We were waiting like an hour. We were already ready. But yeah, she was. And then we did, there's something in the film where if you use footage from the original 9 to 5, you can either pay 20th Century Fox a lot of money for it, or they have something called fair use. So if new Dolly, current Dolly, is talking about something Doralee did in the film and sets it up, it's considered fair use and you don't have to pay for it. So we had like so much fair use in the film. So we called Steve Summers. I was like, Steve, if we gave a list of things, do you think Dolly would just read them out on the microphone and say them? Because then we can use it as fair use. And she just read them all off. Who does that? She's amazing.
I mean, I have always loved Dolly. Who hasn't?
Yes.
But it's like, oh my God, she's just everything you expect her to be and more. Like, she's even more wonderful.
I'll say the other thing too is everybody's redone all of her songs, but the one song that nobody's ever touched is 9 to 5. Because what it stood for, she never let anybody redo it. She never gave the rights up. So with this one, Shane McAnally, who's an incredible friend of ours, he said, can I work with 9 to 5 and do something with it? So she gave her blessing, and he came up with this amazing version. It's like slower, it's darker, and he had a female, one of his female singers sing it, and they played
it for Dolly, and so. We were told, Steve said, are y'all sitting down? And I was like, yeah, we're sitting down. And he goes, she squealed 3 times. And then they continued to play it. And then she came back and she goes, I've had a spiritual awakening. And I told Steve, I was like, Steve, I don't know what the hell that means, but I think it's going to be good.
It's gonna be good.
And so she said, I'm going to make this into a duet, and I know exactly what I need to do to it. So then it turned into finding the duet singer. And I'll say it because it's out there.
Say it.
Adele had it first, and Adele had it for like 6 weeks.
Adele?
You got to think this was years ago. She was in the middle of the 30 album, and she passed on it. She said, I love Dolly to death. I love her. Wrote her a note. But then anyway, after Adele said no, it went right to Kelly Clarkson, and she said yes.
Absolutely.
Who did a great...
So now we have a great version with Kelly and Dolly that they created for the film.
Yeah, Kelly Clarkson's another interesting one. She's another one you kind of just like.
Oh, we love
extremely
Kelly.
likable.
Yeah,
but boy, there is no other Dolly. What's so funny is when there was my first Dolly, we can all talk our first Dolly album. Do you have a Dolly album?
I don't.
You don't? Okay, well, we'll change that. We'll change that.
I'm glad you watched 9 to 5. It's such a good film.
My first Dolly album, it was Here You Come Again.
Okay.
Which I thought was the most amazing song. It was 1977, which I, thought was some kind of weird achievement in 8th grade. And then I just loved it. Then I moved to New York when I was 19, and I was lonely and poor, and I didn't know what to do, and there was a Woolworths across the street. And I went across the street and bought a Dolly album. And I bought Great Balls of Fire, which, maybe not her best achievement. And then I got another album along the way, too. But it was just helped me get through some tough times.
She's got, it's funny, her 50th album drops November 15th, which is kind of crazy. It's all about her family. It's called Parton DNA, and she sings with all her
sisters
singing
and brothers
siblings
and everybody.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's her 50th. So that's a long career. And then she's got so much going on. We were happy she stopped in on Still Working 9 to 5 for a little bit and did these amazing things for us.
Yeah, I mean, my impression was she played a very integral part in the movie. And the things she said were very helpful.
Absolutely. And then after Dolly, then we got Lily's interview, and then we got Rita Moreno, Allison Janney, and then Jane was the last one we had to travel. We had to go to D.C. to get Jane because she was doing the Fire Drill Fridays. But our last interview, which I'm so glad we got Dabney because we've lost him now.
Yeah.
But we got Dabney. Our interview was February.
Who's the boss?
He was the boss. He was Mr. Hart. His interview was February 22nd, 2020, and we all know what happened a week later. COVID shut the world down.
We would have never
so
got
we
it.
got the last interview with
God.
Dabney, and we got to edit for 15 months straight during COVID. We had got all the rest of them. Yeah, so that really helped us.
That's what the movie's tight.
Yeah.
So did you guys do the editing too?
No. Lisa Benora and Orit Rees were our two editors. Amazing. We had 97 hours of footage, and they cut it into an 87-minute movie.
Oh, because the movie is tight.
Oh yeah, it's tight. It's tight.
It's a really fast.
I told Camille the 50 year this December 19th of this year is the 45 years, so we're not far from the 50. So we may create like a docu-series, like
on
webisode.
Broadway.
We've got so much that got cut that we could probably do something else with.
Wow.
For the 50 year.
Like one night on Broadway, the guy that plays the boss, Mr. Hart, they dropped him into the pit and the thing wasn't there, the padding, and Allison saw it and it stopped the hope. So he literally hit the floor and it went
10 feet in the
She tells that story.
So Allison telling that story, she breaks down crying. There's so much stuff we got with Lily and Jane that's not in there, but so I mean, I hope it will see the light of day again. We've got so much. So,
well, I mean, these are all superpower women in the field. I mean, I just can't even think. The Lily, Dolly, Jane, of course, unbelievable in all their own rights. Comedy. I mean, the queen of comedy, Lily Tomlin, and she turned down the film and then tried to get out of the film.
And I didn't know all of that.
Oh
history.
my God!
So as she's saying that, I'm like, holy shit, this is amazing. I didn't know this. So
she saw her dailies. Like,
so me as a fan, I'm like, oh my God, this is great. There are people. I knew people were going to love that, but like you said, as the film went on, you're like, oh, this is turning into something else because we kind of say we hid the medicine and the candy because we bring everybody in with, oh, it's a cast reunion and there's a new 9 to 5 song and it's all the behind the scenes, but then we kind of show you, hey, there's still a lot of shit message. The film, because the film Jane and Bruce, they're like, okay, we've got to make a funny film so people in middle America don't realize that we're trying to say equal pay, equal job advancement, sexual harassment, universal child care are all working women's issues, because middle America wasn't ready to see that. They wanted to see the boss going up in the air, tied up in the house, but then they sprinkled the issues in there. So we did the same. We took a page out of the documentary, out of the film playbook. We wanted to bring you in with the 9 to 5 nostalgia, and then really show you there's a lot that still needs to happen.
A lot that still needs to happen. Back then, six out of 100 women made it out of the typing pool into management. That has increased, but women were sexually harassed in every environment, and that still happens, even though we've had the Me Too movement, which you guys really featured is quite a bit, and Harvey Weinstein actually played a kind of a key moment in the movie.
Our archivist, what she would do, she would just send folders over with just things that dealt with Me Too, things that dealt with the Equal Rights Amendment. So when we saw the Harvey Weinstein, we're like, holy shit, because he's standing on the 9 to 5 musical stage, the red carpet, saying that shit. And then we talked to Bob Greenblatt, who was one of the big producers of that film, and Bob was like, yeah, he was actually a executive producer on the film. We didn't know he had a title on the film, and then it became an even more of a powerful
because he actually says his staff hates him, and I'm sure that much of the play or much of the people watching it are from his.
Staff. He goes, I know they want to kill me.
That was 2009, way before it broke.
We watch it in the. We've gone to a lot of the things, and they go, there's like gas and booze. There's so many different reactions to him on that carpet.
I mean, I think it's a stunning moment. Now we've given it away, but there's
more. There's more.
There's much more. I also love that they talked about the real inequities in pay. They went down the racial women inequities, which is Asian women make 90 cents on the dollar, white women make 79 cents on the dollar, black women 61 cents on the dollar, and Latino women 54 cents on the dollar. I mean, unbelievable, like disparity, but also racially divided up.
Yeah, and we talked to like a couple of the ladies. It was called Ladies Get Paid Nashville. We wanted to talk to people that were in the workforce, like presently, because Camille was really adamant. She's like, we've got Dolly, Lily, and Jane, we've got the star power, but we've got to have real women that are still dealing with the issues 40 years later.
To show it's so relevant.
But then, like you said, when you're editing a film and you've got everything in the kitchen sink, you've got to start cutting it. And so I think the way our editors, and I give them props, I think it's very streamlined. It keeps you interested. It gets you build up. And by the end of it, you're like, what can I do?
Well, Bruce said it's very hard to take a film 40 years and keep your audience, but we literally took it from the film all the way to the future. So he said the way y'all did it,
because we wanted to follow the 9 to 5 timeline, because it's been so many different things. And so then in 82, say when the TV series started 9 to 5 on Fox, I wanted to find something that happened in 1982 with the working women's movement, and that was Zoe fasting for equal rights. And then in 2009, when the musical started, I wanted Lily Ledbetter, because that was when the Fair Pay Act was signed into law. So we tried to mirror things that follow the timelines.
Well, it was unbelievable that, because as a viewer, I was just captivated the entire time.
Thank you.
So you guys did an amazing job.
And we thank Apple TV and Amazon Prime and Google Play for partnering with us to let us get it out to like a wider audience.
6-year journey.
Because we've been trying. We filmed at the film festival 2022. We did
South by
Southwest was the first film festival since COVID. Yeah. So that was when we opened. So we've been on the film festival circuit trying to find a wide release for almost 2 years now. So we're actually very happy.
For still working.
For still working 9 to 5. Yeah.
Wow. It was incredible. It was an incredible achievement. And it's kind of hard. I was like, these two dudes made this incredible documentary. Like it was, it was like, wow.
And Camille Hardman, I commend her. She is definitely the partner that's not here right now, because without her and her vision, because we would have honestly, I think we would have made a movie about 9 to 5 and everything it was.
Yeah.
And then when Camille came in and I saw the organization, and then, when we're interviewing Dolly, Lily, and Jane, that's a dream come true. We're starstruck. We're blown away. But then when you get someone in front of you like Lily Ledbetter and Zoe Nicholson, and you start hearing women that for 50, 60 years, they've spent their lives fighting for equality and equal rights, it turns a switch in your head, and it makes you want to be an ally. I mean, we're LGBTQ rights. We have to fight for our rights. So when you see women and other groups that are doing that as well, we're all kind of in the same boat together, and God help us all in January.
I couldn't agree more. I was telling Brian, I felt like, things were a gut punch, and, I just had to, toughen up and sort of move forward. We all will, but it was a very scary moment in time. Yeah. That's why I thought your movie actually was more important than ever. But I want to talk about the other movie that actually was, wow, it had a lot of heart. Hollywood to Dollywood.
Yes.
And you were surprised I got a hold of it. I'll tell you how I got a hold of it.
Okay.
I ordered it from Goodwill in Orange County. There was a copy. I got
that's good. I'm glad you got it.
It's still out there.
That was now, 12 years ago. Yeah, because we released it in 2012, and we had the musical rights till 2016. So it hasn't been circulating or selling anywhere since 2016.
And that's unfortunate, because I thought the movie was powerful and had a powerful message. That was my takeaway. I'm like, wait a minute, why isn't this on streaming? It's so good and actually has an important message. I ended up in tears at a couple points in the film, and I was especially inspired. So let's just talk about this. It's basically you've written a script. A big old script that you're taking on. Do you want to drive from Hollywood, where you guys are living, all the way out to Dollywood in
Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
Pigeon Forge?
Yeah.
Yeah, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, where Dollywood is. And you're going to take it to Dolly herself, who's going to be there, and present it to her. And you're like, okay, we'll see where this goes. Yeah. But, this movie just expanded into so much more as well.
When we first started, we literally within one day of being out of LA, the floods of Nashville started. So we literally are on our way, and Opryland said, you can't film here, we're underwater.
I was going to film with Emmylou Harris and Opryland, talking all about Trio. I had all that planned.
God.
All went out the window because it was flooded.
And the other thing was, they let us know, they said, well, we're going to let you know, if you come to the park, Dolly is on park, but there's no guarantee you'll get to talk to her, because Hallmark's going to be here. They let us know there were 5 things filming on the park that weekend, so we knew we might not get to talk to her. So that was another.
But I'll set it up, because when we were little, because we're in North Carolina, so we'd always get to go on a trip. So it would always kind of be like, do you want to go to Disneyland or you want to go to Dollywood? So we've been to Dollywood 10 times, never been to Disneyland. So they really should have known. But we always knew that if we'd go on the opening weekend, Dolly was always there, and we would run her around the park, and when she'd go in her little car, and so we would just run her all. Our parents knew they wouldn't see us all day, because we'd be chasing Dolly around the park wherever she was going to be, because we were just big fans of hers. And I think a lot of it is because growing up Southern Baptist, and when we'd go to church and we'd hear you're going to burn in hell, damnation, da da da. But then we would see Dolly on a show, and like Oprah or Donahue, whoever it was, they'd say, well, why do you embrace your gay fans? You always love your gay fans. And Dolly's like, I love everybody. I don't judge anybody. Nobody should judge. God should judge. And so Dolly, we always felt like an acceptance from her. So I think that started the kindred, like why we loved her so much. So that was the thing, is we wanted to go from Hollywood to Dollywood, and we wanted to get there. We left out a week before opening weekend because we knew she'd be there. We could try to hand her the script because we'd been there every other time she opened the park, and that's when she's there. So that's why we planned all that out, not knowing the floods and all those things were going to happen.
I know
we went to her trinkets and treasure store in Nashville,
Underwater
and the whole
flooded.
basement was flooded. Yeah, it was crazy stuff.
And you were
that happened.
getting passes there, right? Like
Yeah.
you couldn't go to the park unless you went to the store. Or, I don't know.
Well, he was giving us the pass. That was the whole thing with that guy. He was real country. His name was Buddy.
And he kept switching. I was like, that's the same guy. 'Cause that's why he put Buddy and Buddy
So
too.
there weren't two buddies?
No, there weren't two buddies. It was one buddy, and he was pretending to be two buddies. It was crazy. Our editors were having fun with that. But then we got to park, and so we were at like this little lunch spot, and there was a liaison with us. Her name was Teresa, and her phone rang. She's like, oh yeah, great guys. And so then
She was
that
vetting
was
us. She
when
vetted
we were
us.
being vetted. And then when she got off the phone, she goes, well, I've got some good news. Dolly wants to meet y'all, so y'all are going to meet her after lunch. So then the whole thing turned in. But it was that one call where they asked
If
Teresa,
she'd have
are
said
they good?
assholes,
Does-
nope, yep, complete assholes. They
she was
wouldn't
like,
have done it.
LA assholes, hate them, they're rude. That would have been the end of us. So that was the call from, is Dolly going to meet him or not?
Wow.
Yeah. So we're like, thanks, Teresa. Her name was Teresa Carson. We love her. She was
Thank
So then we're
you.
told we're going to go to this point, and Dolly, because she always comes around in this car, and this guy drives her, and she drives all through the park. It's like a parade. So she's like, she's going to actually pull up before she starts the parade drive.
So we were kind of back behind the scenes, behind the fences, where Dolly could come up and do a whole thing with us before she went into the park with all the people, like a parade.
But Steve Summers, he's like her creative manager. He goes, no, just be
this
prepared.
was
She
before
might
still
just
working 9 to
wave.
5. This is when we met Steve years ago doing Hollywood.
So he
with
said
Dolly.
she might just wave. She might not stop. So just be ready if you got to go really quick, you know.
and say what you want to say to her. So then she pulled up and stopped the carriage and let us walk up, and we started talking to her, and we gave her the script. And then my partner Mike had made like this little log cabin of her mountain home,
Like a
and the
birdhouse.
pinwheel and the wash bucket. So she was like, look at all that. And she's just got these big rings, like looking at his little house, and she's had the script, and she goes, well, I thank y'all for this. And then we're like, and then our director John Lavin was behind us. He goes, get her to say Hollywood to Dollywood. And I was like, Dolly, will you say Hollywood to Dollywood? And then she goes, all the way from Hollywood to Dollywood.
She's waving.
And
I was
then our
like-
director was
he
like,
almost
oh my God,
passed
that's
out.
the catch line. So she said that as she rode away.
Well, I thought you did that spontaneously.
No, I asked her. I'd ask her in the moment right there, but she
he made
said,
it look spontaneous.
Oh, yeah, he made it look spontaneous. It was good.
So, are you still with Mike?
Mike, 18 years.
Oh,
Yeah.
congratulations! And you with Dustin?
Deshaun, yeah.
Deshaun,
Deshaun,
yep.
I'm
18 years
sorry.
and 3 months. They met 3 months,
3 months
before us.
them.
Dude, you got him on it.
And so we're in
for
we're
you
over in
guys.
Burbank now, and so this is what we have. Like, it's blown up, but it's called the Burbank Clown House, and it's our house, and we've built it up to hundreds of animatronic clowns, live clowns. Aaron Paul, the director from the actor, he was there, so it's gotten bigger and bigger. So we literally just got all the clowns put away.
10,000 people were at our house
Like
on
2
Halloween.
days
Yes.
ago.
TikTok blew us up. It's like 100,000 videos.
What?
of
We
the
have to
Clown
go.
House.
Burbank Clown
wait.
House. Yep.
Burbank Clown
Every
House.
Halloween.
Clown
Wait,
House.
that's your house?
That's
our
our
house.
house. Yep.
Oh my
And with
God.
KTLA, they did live remotes. Fox 11, they all do live remotes from the house.
Wow.
It gets
I
bigger.
did hear about it too.
You heard about it? Okay, it blew up on TikTok.
And I heard about it from TikTok.
exploded us this year. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Our niece and nephew in North Carolina were like, there's like hundreds of thousands of videos of y'all on TikTok.
So we were trying to get it all put away and watch the election and watch Kamala win, and then she didn't win. So we were like very depressed about all that.
Well, let's go put the clowns back up. The world's
We're like,
Send in
people
the
need the
clowns.
clown.
We need
Send in the clowns. But it was a powerful movie because as part of the movie, you guys start on a coming out journey. I mean, and I thought that was incredible. I guess I saw later that John really encouraged you. Your director, isn't that right? He really encouraged you.
It was interesting because we butted heads with John because John wanted middle America, pulse of middle America. Like, he wanted us to go up to people in Arkansas and say, what do you think about gay people? And I was like, we're not
not
I was like,
doing
that's
that.
what he wanted. And I was like, no, John, this is our story. We're talking about our personal life. This is not going to turn into a gotcha and all that. So we fought him on that, and it didn't turn into that. So it turned into what we wanted because we were telling our story, what Dolly meant to us, but we also had to talk about growing up in North Carolina, talk about our parents. So these were personal things that we, talked about in the film. So it was going to be our way or the highway, literally, and we made it our way.
Well, your way was really effective because at first you were with a couple that you met at a truck stop. And you guys prayed together.
Oh, she wanted to pray for the journey, yeah.
You know what was so interesting about that? I'm like, instead of putting my judgmental hat on, which I did not do, because I was like, wow, these people really care. Like, it just really impressed me, those people, and you guys were just right there, and it was kind of a beautiful thing.
Well, can I tell you, that was a turning point in the film, because when they prayed for us and then we got back in the RV and got on the road, me and Larry felt like we had not been truthful with them, because Mike was right there about him being my partner. We didn't tell them about our lives and all of that. So from that point on with them was when we started being truthful and opening up along the way with the camera. So that they actually turned the tide of the film.
And you talked a lot about your family.
I hate that people can't watch this now. I'm like, find my email and I'll find a link somewhere.
I still want to talk about it because I think
I understand. But we're proud of it.
You guys came out on film. I mean, you knew that your mother was going to watch us, and you talked a lot about your mother in the film, that she, would have more difficulty with finding that out. Tell me about where things are right now.
Well, as far as our family in North Carolina, one thing we don't do is talk politics. So we never talk politics. And then
my family too.
I've told my mom, and then our brother and his wife and our niece, they came out and they stayed with us. We used to live in North Hollywood, so they stayed with us for a week. So they know Mike. They met Mike. Mike has never been to North Carolina, so that's something that we don't have and may never have, where our partners can be at the Thanksgiving table and things like that. But we've learned to work our way around it. We lost our dad in 2016, so it's just our mom now. Yeah. So we understand that there's a generation.
We kind of say, you pray for us and we'll pray for you.
Yeah,
and
that's what we say.
Everybody
like,
live
if you feel like you want to pray for us, we'll pray for you. And we're living our lives. We've got partners. Everything about it. But if you don't want to kind of let it in, then we don't force it on her. Because a lot of people would say, oh, you should just tell her, I'm not talking to you anymore. If you can't accept Mike, then I'll have nothing to do with you, and play tough love. But we just can't, we don't do that.
Good.
So,
because I think we have to, what would also impress me is you accepted the limitations. You really understood this is where she comes from. This is how she sees the world, and this is her.
Well, Leslie was always from the South, so he would always say they're just seen with the light they were given. So you gotta,
a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah,
that's a beautiful way. Yeah, and there's also another point in the film when your dad writes a letter to Mike on Facebook. Wasn't that the film? Yeah.
I might have said that in a Q&A because he afterward, because our dad had
I watched too much.
Our dad had a stroke. And so one of the girls, 2011. So one of the girls, Karen Lott, she was a physical therapist. She was his therapist, and she
graduated with us.
Yeah, she graduated with us. She was in our graduating class, so she would work with him. And so then she reached out to me on Facebook, and she goes, "Now, okay, your dad has told me he really wants to watch the film." And our mom, this was the situation. So our mom, one of her sisters, had gone with our uncle and our cousin up to Durham, North Carolina. There was a film festival, and they showed up. But Aunt Marlene wouldn't go in and watch the film because she felt like she'd be betraying Ma. So Uncle Bo and Scott watched it, and they were so emotional. They hugged. They saw 200 people in that theater hug us after the film, and then they waited in the back of the line and they watched that. And so then our mom, she may have seen it, but she's never told us she's seen it. But Karen's like, your dad wants to watch it. And I said, Karen, I'm just letting you know, if our mom is going away somewhere and she's not going to walk in the middle of y'all watching that movie, then let him watch it. But don't do it when she's going to come back from the store and y'all are in the middle of it. So she waited, and then our mom went off somewhere to Raleigh with another sister, and they watched it. And so then Dad didn't write me. Dad got Karen to get Mike on Facebook and wrote Mike and said, Mike, I'm Gary's dad. I just want you to know that I appreciate you loving him, and I may never get to meet you, but I just want to tell you I'm happy like he's in your life. So then I called Mike, and I was like, Mike called me, and I lost it. I lost it every time I talked about it. That was an acceptance that my dad, like I said, in 2016, that's something I'll carry with me forever. So.
And he signed it Dad.
Yep.
I mean, incredible.
So
yeah,
that was amazing. Yeah, so Mike, that's 18 years we've been together, but you still see that there's Southern things and that just create divide, but you have to find a way to make it work with your family. So that's the way we do it. And thank God we had each other, which has been a huge support system.
Like, how was that coming out? Because I know that you guys went through your own process. First, you have to understand what it was for you individually. Then you had to tell each other.
Yeah, and we were around maybe 16 and a half. So when we told each other, then it was because, when you go to church in Southern Baptist 3 times a week, going to church.
The one you're most scared of is him turning his back on me.
So then when we came out to each other, then that was something. And we didn't tell our parents till we were 24. We were living in New York, paying our own bills, like living our own life when we told them. I look up to kids that do it at like 14, 15, and they're still under their roof. I can't imagine that having to do that way. But we were blessed to be living our own life, making our own money, and, when we told them.
No, you've actually got a very common story that I think we paint things with such a broad brush. Like the minute Will and Grace came out, everyone said, "Oh, now it's okay." And like everything's everywhere. And you're like, no, that isn't the case for most people. And what's happening in Middle America, we have to honor. And I still deal with people who live in Los Angeles and are having difficulty coming out in my own practice. And but the thing that really struck me, what's so interesting, and watching your movie brought me back to this. When I was going to graduate school in Houston, which is, of course, a southern city, when I was teaching there, when I was going to school there, and I was doing my practicum, when I had many gay clients, because I worked in a gay lesbian counseling center as part of my work, that the biggest issue was the Southern Baptist Church. The people, one after the other, were talking about religion and coming out and dealing with their family and that they're going to hell. And this was the primary issue that we had to deal with in therapy. I mean, it was across the board.
And that was Dale Shores, who was a really good friend of Leslie and ours. He made Southern Baptist Sissies. He made Sordid Lives, all about him growing up Southern Baptist and gay. So, I mean, there's a whole lot to unpack there.
Yeah, and Dale Shores, an amazing, Sordid Lives.
We love Dale.
An amazing achievement. He also did Confessions of a Trailer Trash Housewife,
with Beth Grant.
Who was Beth. In your movie.
We love Beth.
Oh, Beth was great because we had to set up the interview, and she's like, well, I'm going to this restaurant, I'll come out, and that would be a great time to do it, because she was doing Ugly Betty. Beth was doing a lot, and so we interviewed her, and she was like, she took the script, and she goes, it's a mini series, and she goes, you've got to kill off your loved one. She told us we got to shrink the script down, and she sang Here You Come Again. Like, we had such a great interview with Beth. We love Beth.
Yeah, she's incredible. So it's my favorite tagline: 2 brothers in search of courage, acceptance, and Dolly Parton.
Yeah,
and I think that really captured the film.
Yeah, that's really true, and we're very lucky we got her.
So tell me, so you guys live together then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
we have a house in Burbank.
So the 4 of you then, the 2 partners?
Yeah.
Okay,
we're all there in Burbank.
That's incredible.
It's kind of like the Brady girls get married, but we never got married.
You're speaking to my heart there. It's my generation you're talking about. But so tell me, how is it living together, working together, being together?
Well, we always work together. So then, Mike does his, he has his own, he's the creative, so he does set design, and he has that's why we built the clown house so big, because he makes he built a Ferris wheel in the backyard over the roof that just spins around the clown. So he can create like anything, and he creates, he made the custom bird houses. So he's just a creative, and then Deshaun is a chemist, so they couldn't be farther from us.
Wow.
So we kind of always do our twin stuff together, but then we always make it work with them, which is great. We've got a good dynamic with all of us.
But what's really apparent, kind of tracking your life from the minute you came out, and you were on a million TV shows, and all these different accomplishments, acting, modeling, doing all these different things. I mean, you guys have really put yourselves out there in such a significant way. So I'm just kind of wondering, what do you think is underneath that? Because so many people kind of, don't stretch as far as the 2 of you, and you guys have stretched some pretty significant amounts.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it just from the fact of coming out to Los Angeles and being able to do that was because when we came out here 20 years ago, there were so many people out here with us, and they're all gone now. So I think a lot of the drive is wanting to be successful and not fail, you might say not go back home, not have to move back home and admit that loss. So I think that's the drive on that point. But I think the other part of it is, being proud of who you are, and we've had a lot of blessings in our life, so we don't think that we were put here on this earth to burn in hell and be judged. We know we've had an amazing life. We know, we're very much like our dad as far as, like I remember, Christmases, and in North Carolina it's cold. I mean, it's like, it can be snow on the ground Christmas time. So I remember we would go downtown to where like, a lot of the homeless encampments were, and I remember like fire barrels and, they'd be around the fire. And I remember our dad would hand them $20 bills and he'd say, I had a really good year and I remember doing things like that with our dad. So it's all about finding ways to give back when you can. Like I remember, so this is one I did. I worked at a video store and it was called A1 Video. It was a horrible little store, but anyway, I worked there, and so there was this couple and they would come in every week and they would ask me if I would hold on the new videos coming out like that Tuesday or whatever. And so then they didn't come in for a while and I was like, God, I wonder what happened to them. So then I was working with this girl named Bonnie. I called them and I was like, I just wanted to find out y'all had me coming in and make sure everything, because I had their number to dial them and they were customers. So I knew them. So I called them, and so then come to find out, like he had lost his job. They had hit like these hard times. They had to sell a lot of their stuff. And then she told me, like, I was talking to Bonnie and we were listening. She goes, I had to sell the VCR, so we haven't been able to really rent movies anymore. And so literally when me and Bonnie, we closed the store at 9:00, went to Walmart at 9:30, and I had their address, and I only knew them from the store. Literally we went over there and I had rented them the 3 new movies that came out that day and gave them a VCR. And so that was like, I felt like
got our dad's heart.
I felt like my dad was with me there.
We got our dad's heart, and I think we're always. Steve always says you're tenacious, but you're always gracious. Always gracious. So that goes a long way when you're trying to.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I'm sorry, that was very moving.
So just things like that. I always feel like you always feel like our dad is with us, and then we love our mom to death. Our mom prays for us every night. She is the most amazing mom ever. So we just have one little thing that we can't get past with our mom, but that's okay because she's still an amazing mom.
Yeah, we do have to accept our parents for the people they are.
Yep.
And
that's exactly right.
That's to be able to have that relationship with them. So, I mean, it's really wonderful to hear the relationships you do have. My God, there's so much we could talk about. If your younger selves could give advice, if your older selves could give advice to your younger selves, what do you think it would be now that now that you guys are in a completely different place?
I know one. Remember we went in the Lions? Okay, so we went in the Lions group. It was a male modeling agency in New York, and we went when we were 23. And Lisa and Debbie Gans, they have a thing called Twins Talent. They cast twins and everything. They were the ones that actually cast us on Fear Factor. So they brought us up there, and they're like, I think y'all need to stay up here a couple of weeks and go into some agencies because I think y'all can really get going. So we went in this. I think his name was David Lyons. I don't give a shit. He's probably not here anymore. But it was called the Lions Group. We went in there and we had like these real strong Southern accents, and he told us, he goes, you don't have the look, you don't have the personality, and you certainly don't have the voice. So if I was you, I would go back home to North Carolina as fast as you can.
Oh my God.
And so I remember walking out of there and walking down the streets in New York, going back to Lisa and Debbie, crushed. So I would just say to myself, do not listen to that asshole. Don't even walk in that door, because he took our self-esteem down so much for so many years. So that was one I would just jump to.
Do you have one, Larry? Or
he always
travel more. Travel more.
Travel more.
Travel more. I can sign on.
Buy more Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, well, we all missed that window. But it's so funny because I used to live in New York. I knew women, who are big models who had accents. So I don't know what the fuck he was.
Oh yeah, he just. I don't know if he was having a bad day, but he just wanted to tear us down that day.
That seems evil to me.
Yeah, he was pretty
cruel.
dark, that guy.
You guys, what's up next? I can't even. Don't you hate that question? Because I think the Still Working 9 to 5 is such an amazing achievement. I was like, wow, it was like exponential from Hollywood to Dollywood.
Oh yeah, production value.
Yeah.
I mean, we had, we did self-fund it. Don't do that, kids. If you're listening to me, don't self-fund. But we did have organizations that came in to help us with there was so much going on with archival and the graphics and all that. So we were very blessed to make the film that we made. Another good thing about it, because 9 to 5, it's all about that timeline, and it always seems to have iterations. So now Jennifer Aniston is producing Diablo Cody has already written the script. They're going to do, it's not a 9 to 5 sequel, it's a 9 to 5 remake, and she's going to focus on current issues like gig economy, the things that working women deal with today. And she's going to do a whole new cast. It's been rumored Dolly, Lily, and Jane are going to be involved. So what I will be doing is I will be watching that remake as it unfolds, and then I will be telling people, go watch the documentary before you watch the remake and find out why there was a film to even have a remake for. So I will constantly be sowing the documentary out there for years to come.
Well, I think that's really important. It seems like a very important piece. It's very unfortunate that we have to wrap up because there's so much I could talk to you guys about.
Well, we appreciate you guys. We had a really good time. It's kind of nice to touch back into memories that because you don't get to visit them a lot, so it's always nice to revisit those times.
Well, you guys both are really a pleasure, very much a pleasure to be around, and I don't think that was a surprise to me because you come across that way on camera as well.
Thank you. We're Southern.
Thank you. But the funny thing is, we have friends out here from Texas. They lose the accent, but because we hear it every day,
we never stop.
We've held it, but not as deep as if you hear our mom talking, because our roommates used to say, your mom called and she said something. I don't know
what the hell she said, but I'd probably call her.
She said something.
Couldn't understand her.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Gary. That wraps up the show for today. Reminder to like, subscribe, give us 5 stars. Links to the studies on the YouTube page, youtube.com/Dr. Greg. This is the lanetwins.net. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Or but you got the socials up there, and then at Lane Twins Larry, and at Lane Twins.
We can't get away from
Gary.
it. It's all Lane
Twins. My God, my tongue twisters today. Those are on Instagram. If you have any questions or topics, hit us up. This is Dr. Greg and Brian and the Lane Twins, Gary and Larry, bidding you farewell. Until next time, be present, be flexible, and be kind.